Torres is scheduled to face Angela Hill next month, right? That's like August 7th. Yeah, August 7th. They're going to face off. And this is a rematch to their fight, 6 years ago now? And, I talked about it in my video, and I kind of gave you my thoughts. Like I said, it's going to kind of be a new fight. In a way, it's going to kind of be a new fight here because Tecia Torres, she's made some changes in her game. Angela Hill, she's made some slight improvements to her game. And I know most fans are kind of leaning towards Tecia Torres in this fight. Yeah, August 7th. I was double checking here. Yeah, a lot of fans are leaning towards Tecia Torres in this one just because she has faced the tougher competition. She's learned from it. She's strong. She still has the hand speed, and she could do what she did the first fight, right? Angela Hill, in my opinion, I think she still has some things that she needs to work on. Of course, people will say, she is growing. She is growing as a fighter. I mean, she could do more. She could do more. And I think she's definitely developed her takedown defense a little bit better. But the thing is, she's still like an all-around striker. And I think for somebody like Angela Hill, like I said, it's not going to be like a full breakdown of Torres and Hill, but I wanted to talk about the style of being a point fighter, and I was going to use Angela Hill as an example. Like, talked about this on a live stream one night. All right, so Angela Hill likes to stand and use her striking, right? And she doesn't really have that power, and she's always on the wrong end of decisions. Like I said, she needs to either start submitting people or start sitting down on punches and starting to knock people out and close the show. So if she's not going to do those two things, though, I said, okay, so she needs to be more of a point fighter. And if that's what she wants to be, like she's doing that now, if she wants to perfect that style, she needs to take those certain points like a fighter like Caitlin Chikagian. And to me, when you really want to just go in there and go the distance, you want to keep the fight standing, and you want to just box, and you want to kick, and you just want to use angles. You don't want to go into any type of clinches, or if you do go into clinch, you just want to land and get out and never put yourself in that type of position. There's a few points that I was just taking over the years of just watching certain fighters, and one of them, like I said, was Caitlin Chikagian. I said that Angela Hill needs to kind of develop that type of style where if you're not going to knock people out, you need to make damn sure that you are always working and you're always touching your foe, and you always have your opponent guessing, or you always have them looking like they're the opponent that's not working, right? You got to convince the judges that I'm ahead and I'm the busy fighter. So the one thing I'll say, number one, is for Angela Hill needs to develop that type of technique that a point fighter needs. And some of the number one keys that I feel, you have to be sharp. You have to be sharp, and you have to use straight shots. You got to be sharp and precise with straight shots. Again, when you pump that jab out, if you're not going to throw a hard jab, you need to double or triple it, and you need to keep it straight down the pipe to knock your opponent back and keep them off rhythm. That's the first keys to being a point fighter. You got to have your technique down. You got to have straight shots. You got to use your reach. You got to be first, and you have to use angles, because angles are your best friend if you're a point fighter, if you're a boxer or you're a stand-up fighter, because you want to keep yourself unpredictable. You want to be out of the range of being taken down. You want to be out of the range of hooks or straight shots from your opponent. So you got to be straightforward with your shots, and you got to be out by the time they try to counter or land back on you. So point fighters, they got to land and move. You got to stick and move. You got to be straightforward. You got to be working. Second point I would say is defense. Legs are going to be a part of your defense. Your reflexes and timing. You got to be up on that. For somebody like Angela Hill again, if you got the straight shots down, when you pump them straight shots out, you got to be out. You got to be out of range. You take 2 steps back, your opponent takes 2 steps forward, you got to take another step back. Take 3 steps back when they take 2 steps back to keep yourself out of range. So defense is really important. You got to be able to move your head and get your head off the line and slip, catch, do all these things, you know, in quick motion, even in MMA, you know. So being that point fighter, you can't be touched, you know, because if your shots aren't going to be that damaging, you're going to just be piling up points, but you can't let them get anything off on you, especially if they're going to be throwing hard or banging effective shots, because one effective shot or two effective shots will probably outscore your three pity pat shots. You know what I mean? Jessica I was able to do that to Caitlin Chikagan, you know. So if you're going to touch and move. You know, you're going to want to touch and move and not get hit at all. And third, I would say, actually this is fourth. Yeah, this is third. My third point, very, very important, very, very important, is the cardio, your gas tank. You know, you got to have that gas tank. You know, if you're going to be a stand-up fighter and this is your game, you know, you're not looking to finish, you got to be able to stay in the fight 3 rounds, 5 rounds, how many ever rounds it is. You know, you got to be able to have that strength in those legs to continue to move, because the longer you keep somebody in the octagon with you, the more dangerous the opponent gets most of the time, right? Especially if you don't have the power to hurt them. You know, Caitlin Chikagan, again, we'll come back to her. Caitlin, once again, knows the risk of having her opponent in there for three rounds or 5 rounds, but she's committed to that chaotic style when she can, and she has the gas tank for it. You know, she's always working on her cardio, and she has that type of stamina to go. You know, she made that point that, look, my cardio is better than Viviane Araújo, so I can do whatever I want in there with this boxing. I can take it to that level because I can outlast her. I have more in my tank where I can just work. If I can't stop her, hey, I still got the cardio to go, and eventually she'll wear out. You know, so that's another thing about Angela Hill. You know, Angela Hill had some times in that Michelle Waterson fight where she kind of faded towards the second half of it. That's why I think, you know, she let Michelle Waterson come back and she lost it on the cards. I had Hill winning the fight, but still, you know, Angela Hill's going to have to find that pace. You know, she's going to either have to build the cardio up or find that rhythm to always continue working and win those rounds in the eyes of the judges, which goes to my last point. Being a point fighter, you got to know how to please the judges. You know, you got to know how to please the judges. And how do you do that? You're always working, you're always staying busy, and you're keeping your hands on your opponent, and they're not touching you. You got to constantly make it look like I'm doing something. That's why I say that shoe shining effect is very effective. You know, that shoe shining style is very effective. You know, as long as you continue to touch your opponent, the judges, they'll see that as being effective. You know, and putting it all together, when you put that shoe shine together with the technique, and you're making them miss, and you're making them look flustered, and you're just so chaotic, and you're just constantly outworking them. Imagine if Angela Hill does that every single fight. Boom, she would be winning more decisions. She'd be winning a hell of a lot more decisions than, you know, being always on the wrong end. So yeah, man, I just think that Angela Hill, over the years, the more and more I watched her, I was like, yo, she really needs to develop just that point fighting style, you know, just be fast on her feet, touch with the jab, you know, be accurate with it, but, you know, you got to constantly just be touching and moving, just so the judges can score the round for you, you know. So yeah, that's just my take on it, though, you know, for Angela Hill, and just for any fighter that likes that style. You know, I'm kind of a fan of it. Sometimes I get irritated with it in boxing, and because it can get a little boring because they're just constantly touching you. Like, come on, put some pop behind that shot, man. Come on, knock this person out. You know what I mean? But then you kind of appreciate it because, like, I come from that background. I used to, you know, slap box back in the day, and it's cool when you can frustrate people like that with your speed, and you can keep them standing just enough. Well, you keep them standing the whole time. Just, it's funny because you can hurt them with these. You hurt them with these shots, and you piss them off, and you frustrate them, but, you know, it's enough to make them mad and keep coming forward. it's enough to make them keep coming forward, and you just go pop, pop, pop. You keep touching them, pop, and you just keep on hitting them, but they can't do anything because you're just too fast. You just keep moving in and out. And I think that, yeah, Angela Hill needs to develop that, man. She really needs to kind of work off of that and make more of that style in the strawweight division. I mean, shit, Caitlin Chikagan is like number 2 right now, right? And she's continuing to stay there just by always outworking her opponents. unless your name is Andrade Shevchenko, right? So yeah, man, point fighting style, it's always been interesting to me, slap boxing, these guys with pity pat punches. It gets the job done if you really know how to master it. So like I said, you gotta have a technique with it. You gotta be straight with the shots. Your technique has to be sharp, accurate, on point. You gotta be first. And defense, you gotta win the judges over with it by constantly working and not being touched. And that number one, that big one, man, cardio, that gas tank, man. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got on this episode. Like I said, we'll always talk about this stuff on my channel. We'll revisit in other episodes whenever I come up with some points that I might have missed in this episode. But like I said, I just wanted to come back and do a episode here and give y'all my thoughts right off top. A few points I had written, but just had to give y'all my reaction to Tyson Fury postponing the Wilder fight. I'm disappointed, and I think it was just kind of a front to kind of push out for more preparation on Fury's side, because they're a little worried about what Wilder's bringing to the table here, and they want to psychologically screw over Wilder, maybe make him overtrained too. I think that's a big part of it. Also, what did we talk about? Potential. We talked a little bit about the triple threat as my example. Potential for me, like I said, in this sport of MMA, people are confusing my potential with overhyping fighters. But nah, man, when I see somebody with potential, I'm going to give them their respect. And when I see these three fighters in Taylor, Manon Fiorot, and Miranda Maverick, I like what I'm seeing. And I like what they bring to the table. And what they bring to the table has that potential to be a threat to this top 10 right now. So I really do think that once they get past their opponents, Myra Bueno Silva, Mandy Boehm, Macy Barber, granted they get by them in dominant fashion, you will see them matched up with the top 10, and you'll see them doing some things. You'll see them doing some things in the division, man. So yeah, Tank Davis, star on the rise. Want to see more. He's supposed to come back in October. We'll talk more about that. Make his return back to the boxing ring. Oscar Valdez, maybe, I'm hearing. And yeah, point fight style. It can be a style for Angela Hill. It's a style you do have to master, or you get knocked out. You got to know how to make somebody get frustrated and flustered with with those punches, man. I don't know how, man. It just works. Makes me want to go slap box somebody right now.